My name is Mubashar. My registration number is 17 NTU 1146 and I am the student of BSCS morning 6th semester. And the course which I am studying from you is about web development and its applications related. And the topic of my presentation which was allotted to me was about the PHP data types. So from the next slide onwards, we will discuss our topic of presentation, its main contents and the whole presentation. So I will carry out my presentation in audio form. Thank you. So let's start our presentation. As I mentioned in the previous slide, there is a topic or title of my presentation is about PHP data type. So first of all, we should know the concept of data type, that what data type is. In computer science and computer programming, we usually see that data type or simple type data say is an attribute of data which tells the compiler or interpreter how the programmer intends to use the data. A data type is simply a field for which the programming is based. The interpreter compiler tells that this type of data is required for this field and this type for that type of particular scenario or thing. Most programming languages support basic types of integer numbers of varying size. Such we can say that floating point numbers with approximate real number values. That data type will be in the form of characters, ABC, constants, booleans, true and false forms, anything you can say. A data type constrains the values that an expression such as a variable or function might take. A data type we can say that the data type value is taken up by a variable or a function. Both a variable and a function can use the data type to implement or simply formalize the function or program which you are working on. This data type defines the operations that can be done on the data, the meaning of the data. It simply explains the exact meaning or use of the data and the way values of that data can be stored in that particular data type. You can store a variable, function, or many such types of values. A data type basically provides a set of values from which an expression, variable, function, etc. may take its values or simply provide its values to that particular data type. Now we will start from that what are the data types in PHP. As we know that PHP is a programming language and there are the following different types of data types used in this language. So we will discuss each of these data types in a specific way that PHP controls or handles these variables and data. We will start from that variables can store data of different types we know, and these different types of data can do different things and can perform different functions. The values assigned to PHP can be used in many different fields. These data can be in the form of primitive data types, mechanics data types, and so on. But here we will see that PHP supports these following 8 types of data. We will see from the first one there which is string type of data in the form of characters. The second one is integer form of data in the form of numbers or figures. Floating point numbers, also called we call double, or simply we can say the decimal numbers. These come in the range of floating. Booleans, true, false, yes or no forms of data. Array, collections of different variables or things. Object data, the null value data, and the last one is the resource data. We will discuss all of them in detail. In the upcoming slides, we will discuss all these types of PHP data types. So let's start with the first type of data type, which is PHP string or string data type. We can say as first of all, we know that a string is a sequence of characters, or we can say that each character in this string is same as a 1 byte character is equal to. Okay, then let's have example of it like hello world. This is a string declared in double quotes words. As we know that a string can hold letters, numbers, and special characters also, and the maximum range or maximum capacity of the string is up to 2 GB bytes maximum. A very string can hold characters in this, in its form, on its area. The simplest way to specify a string is to enclose it in single quotes, or you can also enclose a string in a double quotes. It depends on you that on which type you like to enclose it in single quotes or double quotes. So let's have a look at the below example of the string given. In this PHP code, we can say that the PHP strings are titled with the header body sorry, with the head or body tags, and we can say that we will see that in string A hello world is stored and it will echo string A. In string B also hello world is stored and it will same echo as string B, but in string 3 stay here I will be back is stored and this will echo the string B characters. These are the 3 A, B, C examples of string listed, which reflects the example of PHP string in this case. We will move on to the next type, which is the second type of this PHP integer or integer data type. We can say in this type we will see that what are integers. first of all, integers are whole numbers. This is the thing to remember, which are without a decimal point. As we can see that the integers are positive, negative numbers, both positive and negative numbers are whole numbers also. Whole numbers those which will start from 0 and go on towards infinity. And here I listed that integer data type is a non-decimal number, and this is the range of the integer data type between 21474 43642 and this towards 647. Rules, and then below there are listed some rules for integers which you have to keep in mind in order to declare an integer in PHP data type, or to simply use it in a function or have some benefit from it. The rules listed are: an integer must have at least one digit. The minimum limit of the integer is a one digit. There should be a one digit present in it. An integer must not have a decimal point. If there is a decimal point between any integer or a group of integers, then it will not considered according to the main case. An integer can be either positive or negative, we have discussed earlier. And one main thing, integers can be specified in decimal form, base 10s, hexadecimal 16 base numbers, and octal base 8 numbers, or binary base 2 notation forms. Now here is the example listed of the PHP integer. In this code we can see that the PHP integers is titled, and in this code the first one integer is enclosed in a string 123, which is a decimal number integer. Variable dump is used to declare this decimal number integer, and it is echoing the results also. In the second portion, variable b is storing -1 to 3, a negative number, and echoing it in string c. 0 multiply 1, a hexadecimal number is stored and it is echoing, and in string d you will see 0 1 2 3 octal number is stored, and all these four a b c and d integers are enclosed in strings and echoing their results. This is an example of an integer PHP code. So let's have a look at the third one data type, which is titled as PHP float data type. We can simply say that floating point numbers, or PHP float, also known as floats, we can say them doubles or real numbers also. These all are the names of a float. A floating point number is a number with a decimal point is the main condition of it, or a number in exponential form. These are the two necessary conditions of a float or a floating point number. These are the decimal or fraction numbers which are listed, and below them is this example of a PHP code in which these types of floating numbers or PHP float are listed. Hence it is titled as PHP floats, and the PHP code starts with a string which has enclosed one point. We can see that there is a decimal point 234, is because decimal is the main condition of it, that floating point has to occupy decimal. Then it is echoed the result of it as in string b. We can see that 10.203, this is also a floating point data type, and in string c we can see that there is a 4e minus 10, and this has become an expression form. We have discussed that expression is also comes in the case of PHP float. So these are the three examples of PHP float. We will move on to the next one, which is the fourth PHP data type, listed as PHP Boolean. As we have known that Boolean means two possible conditions. A Boolean represents simply two possible states, true or false. We can also say them Booleans are like a switch. It has only two possible states, which is either 1 or 0, that the light will be on or off. The condition will be yes or no, simply true or false case. Okay, got to the point. Boolean has only two end states, either it will be true or it will be wrong. So we have a look at the example of a PHP code listed below of the Boolean case. In this, the title is listed at PHP Booleans, head and body tags are listed, and the PHP code is stored. Assign the value true to a variable, we are saying. Then there is a message showing that show error. The error is showing in true form. The variable dump will simply display this message as show error. The true value is showing show error. Simply the result will be in the form of true or false. If the value is true, it will show them as true, and if the value is false, it will show them as false. These are the both cases of the PHP booleans. Now we'll move on to the fifth one type, which is the PHP array. First of all, we shall know that what is an array. An array is a variable, we can say, that can hold more than one value at a time, or it can store multiple values at a time, which will be not less than one, more than one. This is an array. It is useful to aggregate a series of related items together. For example, set of countries, you can say this will be an array, or city names, this will also be declared as array. An array is formally defined as an indexed collection of data values. Multiple or more values are collected together or adjusted in the form of array. Each index, also known as the key value of an array, is unique and references to a corresponding value. That we can say that in an array there are a number of values listed, and each value has a unique case, and it will correspond to a specific value or refer to it, or simply have a reference of it. Then there is listed an example of the PHP code. PHP array is titled, and in this case we can say that a colors in the color string, an array of red, green, and blue colors are stored, and then variable dump is simply displaying it, and then color codes are stored of, and then there are color codes of that red, green, and blue colors, which are simply stated as RGB colors. The red color code is listed, the green color code is listed, and so on, the blue color code is listed. This is an example of an array in which the colors and along with the color codes are stored in the form of indexed, and each point or number have a specific key value or a unique value with some reference of key. Now we have another PHP data type which is titled as PHP object or object data types, we can say. First of all, an object is a data type that not only allows storing data, but it also stores or processes the information of that data also along with it. How to process that data? An object is a specific instance of a class, or it is a member of a class which serves as templates for objects. Objects are created based on this template via a new keyboard. This is the context of it. Every object has properties and methods corresponding to those of its parent class. It inherits from its parent class members. An object. Every object instance is completely independent. It has independency to do whatever he can do with its own properties and methods, and thus be manipulated independently of other objects of the same class, that it can simply inherits or gains the attributes of other class from which it is taking part in the same program or function, we can say. So an object is a data type. It stores data information and it can guide us how to process the data. In PHP, an object must be explicitly declared. We have to simply declare that object. It has some meaningful reason or understanding. First, we must declare a class of object. For this, we use the class keyword. Keyword is necessary for that object. A class is a structure that contains properties and methods of that particular object, and it will inherit its properties and methods from its parent class, and it will be passed on to the child class onwards. In the object example case, we can say that there is a listed an example of PHP objects. First of all, we have a class definition, a class made greeting class, and then there are different properties of that class. The public value string is declaring hello world message, and there are some methods of that particular string. Function is showing show greeting. Function is created, then it will be returning some string value, and it will then returning this some value in the form of string, and then create the objects from that class. Message new greeting, and then variable dump is simply declaring it. Seventh data type of PHP is PHP null. As it is declaring from the name, null means empty. A null is a special data type which can have only one value, which is a null value. A variable of data type null is a variable that has no value assigned to it. It is an empty case. There is no value present in this case. It simply we can declare it with 0 or nothing, empty case. The tip of the null is that if a variable is created without a null, it will automatically assign or adjust the value of null to that case in that particular function or program. Variables can also be emptied by setting the value to null. If you have to empty some variable, some case in which number of characters or constants or variables are present, then we can simply null that value and it will empty all of that case. All the variables or function values will be removed from there. Now in the null example case, PHP null value, we will see that the string A is assigned null value, variable dump echoing the result, and string B is assigned the value of hello world. If we assign string B the value of null, then this hello world will be emptied and string B will simply be null. Now that there is an empty case and no value is present in string B, it will be considered a null value or simply empty case. At the last, we have a look at the PHP 8 data type, which is regarded as PHP resource or resource data type. As we shall know, one main thing that resource is a special variable case holding a reference to an external source. The special resource type is not an actual data type. It will have some resources or its key features with an external source database type something. Resource variables typically hold special handlers to open files and database connections. It is a storing of a reference to functions and resources external to the PHP. It means it is a data type of PHP, but it has external links with outside companies or industries databases or something else, we can say a common example of using the resource data type is a database call. It will have a main database call which will perform its functions from an PHP to an external source. Resource variables typically hold special handlers to open files and database connections. Basically, this is a data type which we'll not discuss at this level because it is mainly in higher use, but we will simply have a look at the example of it. As in this resource example, you can see that this document type titled as PHP resources and the head and body tags are listed. In this PHP code, there is a command listed: open a file for reading, and a handle string is attached with this. Fopen function will simply not declare message not or text with variable r, and variable temp will open this function in the form of resource, and it will establish its PHP context to some external database connection or resource simply. So that's the end of my presentation. I've discussed in detail all the 8 data types of the PHP. Thank you very much for listening, ma'am, and that's all from me. Thank you once again.